No. I've got, I mean, not right now.
Let's get started. Okay. So, for today, I think we mentioned last week that we're going to do our numbers today and as well as time. So what we're going to do first right now, just to kind of, let me see if I can make myself look a little see better without my screen falling. Okay. What we're going to do today is we're going to do, well, I already said that. What we're going to review is our numbers. So we went to all the way up to 15, right? And then we stopped. So we're going to do our 1 through 15 again, and then we're going to move on to our 16 all the way up to 1 million. So I know 1 million, it's a big, big number. I promise it's not as scary as it sounds. So let's go ahead and do our 1 through 15. So our number 1 was our, again, easy 1, number 1. Then we had 2, 3, 3, yeah. You're doing so many different numbers, just like, wait, which one's which? Yeah. 3, then 4, 5, and then 6 is what we do our normal 3. Yeah. Then we have 7. Then 8. And then 9. And then 10. 11 was, we flick that finger up. 11. Then we have 12, which is 2 fingers. You can do this motion or the flick up. Either way, it's still 12. So 12. Then we have 13. 14 with the 4 fingers. Make sure thumb is in. 14. Then 15 with the thumb out. 15. All right. So now let's move on to some new numbers. So for 16, there's 2 ways you can do it. I'm going to show the first way that's more kind of, I don't always say it's easier, but it's more like comfortable for people who are not, like, for when you're starting out, like beginners. And then there's more like, I guess you could say air quote, like sort of an advanced one. It's not really an advanced. It's just, if you're not used to like the hand shape, sometimes it feels uncomfortable compared to the first one. So the first one you're going to do is you're going to make a 6 and you shake it. 16. So this is 16. Yep. Exactly like how the 10 is. It's like that. So you got our 16. The other one for 16, the other option is what you do is you basically bounce your pinky back and forth on your thumb. 16. And that one, like this one, I do tend to see more, but 16 is still a good, it's still a good one, especially if you're still learning and trying to get your hand like used to those hand shapes and those motions. If you're not used to it, your fingers hurt. Like I remember mine would get like, I'd almost get like hand cramps because I practiced so much, and I'd have to literally put my hand down and be like, we have got to stop. Your fingers swelling too much. Your fingers are hurting. It's not happy. So and that's why I always recommend that one. But if you ever feel like, I'm comfortable with that, I want to try, you can always push yourself for this one. It works too. So number 16. The next one for 17, it's going to be the exact same thing, but with our 7, and it has the same option. So 17 is 7 and you shake it, or you have your ring finger bounce on your thumb now. 17. No, excuse me. 17 or 17. Yep. Then for 18, it's the 8. Shake it, or middle finger bounce on it. 18. I kind of see what I like with the numbers is that there's a pattern to them. It's not just like you're picking random things and you're doing motions. Like there's almost like a consensus. So I always like that. So once you know the pattern, you can pretty much catch on with it. So then for 19, if you guys could take a guess, 9, shake, or 19. Did I say 9? I'm sorry, I meant 19. It's been a day. 19 or 19. Then for 20, so 20 is now going to be basically our baby shark. So, you know, baby shark, that's 20. And then, well, actually, let's stop there. Let's go back all the way 16 through 20, and then we'll move on to 21 through 25. And then after that, what we'll do is I'm going to show you, you basically do the same thing. After 25, all the numbers are pretty much, they do the exact same like pattern, like I said. Numbers 1 through 25 have their kind of almost air quote own. And then the others after that have this specific pattern that just follows. So that's what we kind of chunk it up like that. So let's go back to our 16. So 16, 6, you can shake it or you can bounce it, whichever works for you. Then we have 17, 7, shake or bounce. 18, 8, shake or bounce. And then 19, shake or bounce. 19. And then our 20, baby shark. Don't know why I always just like baby shark. I think it's because we sang that we had that as a camp song way on back. So when baby shark came popular, I was like, I already know this song. I know all the motions to it. And so I just am like, I beat everybody. We've done this since I was a kid. So I always just think baby shark. Okay. So for 21, you do, so you make the L shape and your thumb is going to bounce 21. So this is 21. And then 22 is going to go, you go with the 2, you go 2, 2, 22. So 22, so you have 21 and 22. For 23, you're going to have the 3 and your middle finger is going to be the one bouncing. 23. And the reason for this one, actually, I'll hold off on that. I'll explain it later when I explain another part. I don't want to overwhelm you all in immediate go when I'm trying to show you the next 5 numbers. So 23, then for 24, you're going to do 2, 4, 24. And then and there's another way I'll show you with 24, but that goes with that 23. So I'll show you that later. And then for 25, you go 25. It's your middle finger and your ring finger bounce, 25. It's almost like you're going in Spider-Man motion. So like, you know, Spider-Man, 25. Okay, so let's go back to 21 and do 21 through 25, and then we'll do the rest of the numbers. So 21, then 22, 23, 24, and then 25. It takes a minute to make sure to know which fingers are going down. Okay, so for 26 all the way up to 99. I mean, this goes all the way up to 99. I don't know if I mentioned this, but you can go up to 999 on one hand. Really cool. We're gonna learn that. So I always that's my pull in to catch everyone's attention, because like when you say you can go up to 999 on one hand, it's like everyone's like, what? How is that possible? We only can go up to 5. Like normally we're like, oh, 5 and that's it. So no, it's a much bigger number. What you do for 26 to 99 is you're going to do that same bouncing motion that we did for 22. So 26, 27, 28, 29. So it's like There's two ways. You're thinking of the other way. When you do this, I know which one you're thinking of. Yeah, we're gonna go to that one. So one way you go is you can go 22 or 20, like 27, 28. The way that Miss Jessica is talking about is where you have the L and that's your 2 and you go 26, 20, or 28. And it's that motion. Both are right. It's just kind of it's not necessarily wrong which way you go.
So does this represent 2 or 20?
So 20 is that bounce.
Oh, 20, okay, 20.
But you can use this as represent 2 because it's 2 fingers. So like,
Okay.
you were doing like 24, they do 24. This like you do
2, 4. Okay.
but you can still do that 2, 4 as well. 24
Okay.
or 2. Either way works.
Okay. Thank you.
That's usually for mostly the 2s is those kind of things. The 3s usually 3s and above, like 34, 35, 36, 37, that kind of keeps it same. 2 is where you can do that L or the actual 2. I've kind of noticed more because like I learned it with the 2 and then when I started like going to schools and visiting and working on becoming a teacher, I would see this a little bit more. But everybody I see goes either this one or this one. It's the same, as in I see so many other people doing it. It's not one kind of shows more than the other. Okay, so like I said, so for 28, you would do 2, 8. Well, whoops, I did 2, 7, 2, 8, 28 or 28. For 30, 40, 50, 60, a lot of times instead of doing like 3, 0, you just go, you kind of like have it forward and you come back into an O. 30, 30, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. It's almost just kind of like a bouncing kind of motion like that. Yeah. So that's how you would do for like 90, 90, 80. I'm going backwards and it's messing me up. 70, 60. And you could still just do this bounce motion too, like 60, 60, 80. Hi.
Hi.
We are working on our numbers right now. So we're gonna reviewing our we just finished doing 1 through 25 and now I taught them how to do the 26 and up, and we're talking about the 90s and 50s and 60s, those kind of motions. So like I said, so the 60 can be this or 60, 70, 80. Now for the hundreds, what we do is we basically do the same numbers, but we add one little thing to it. So for 100, you do 1 and you pull your hand back into a C. 100, 100. For numbers like 200, 300, the same thing. 2 C, 300, 400, 500. So 900, 900 or 600. Yeah. If you were going to do a number like, every time I say a number, I always end up messing up the number when I sign it. So please do not judge me. It's not that I can't. I think it up and then in my hand's like, no, we're going to do a different number. It does that sometimes. So I'm going to say 342. If we were going to say that, what you do is you go 342. So 342. So like I said, you can go all the way up to 999. 999. 99. Yep. I just always think that's so cool. Okay. So I know we're kind of going a little bit fast. Are you guys good with that? Do you want to practice some more numbers? We're going to do, before we move on to like 1,000 and 1,000,000.
Also, Jillian, I think that I did a numbers quiz. So when I send out the notes and the vocab sheet for today, I'll include the numbers quiz. So after you review the class, you can take that numbers quiz and see how you do.
Okay, so are y'all ready to move on to like 1,000 and 1,000,000? It's very simple. I say it's very simple. It's very simple as in you just add again the sign for 1,000 and the sign for 1,000,000 with your numbers. So it's not like it's your numbers all of a sudden are going to change on you. So what you do for 1,000 is you're going to go one. Oh, well, first let me show you your non-dominant hand. So most of y'all, if you're right-handed, it's your left hand. It's going to go palm up. Your dominant hand is going to be in that pointer finger, and you go 1,000. So 1,000. 1,000. So if you were going to say like 3,000, you would do 3,000, 4,000, 1,000. No worries. Sorry, they were letting me know that their internet was kind of struggling a little bit. And I realized I voiced it and I was like, oh wait, it's a direct message. My bad. So if you were going to do a number like, ooh, I always do this. Let's say 2,962. Okay. What you do is you go 2,962, I think is what I said. I think I said that. See, when I pick numbers like that, my brain wants to change the whole numbers, wants a nicer, different number. So, one second. Oh, okay. She left as I was typing in, no worries. So I was like, oh, send. And it's like, no, you cannot send. So that's how you would do 1,000, like 2,000, 5,000, that. For 1,000,000, what you're going to do is you're going to have that same pose. And you're now going to go for like 1,000,000. You go 1,000,000. So you bounce it forward. 1,000,000. 1,000,000. And so if you were gonna, again, 3,000,000, 4,000,000. If you were gonna say like 400 million, you would do 400 million. It gets really big. A lot of times if you're doing big numbers like let's say, you know what I'm gonna do? 123,456,789. That way it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It makes it easier on me, so I don't change it up. The way you would do this, you go 123,456,789. Some people like to almost kind of slide as they do it. Like they start like, if you notice, I started kind of almost over here. I was like 123,456,789. Like I'm almost sliding across. Some people do that almost so it's visually a little more smoother. It's almost like how we write it. That you can do that. You can also just kind of keep it in front of you. Either way kind of works. It really depends on what helps you say it right, like sign it right, and also what helps them see what you're saying. Hopefully you don't have to like use 100 millions very soon on and like communicating. Like I just hope for your sake, because you can see I'm even struggling. Like it takes me a minute, especially when I'm like trying to do numbers. Like I have to stare at the number as I sign it if it gets too big, because I start to lose myself. So all righty, those are our numbers. What we can do right now is we can do a practice quiz, just a little one, just a little short one of, oh, that's a good question. We've not done that one. Oh, y'all are lucky. Y'all get money involved. So she just asked, what's the sign for dollars and cents? So the sign for cents is cents. So it's like you tap before it. So it's like, if I was going to say, I say 25 cents, it's 25. Like I tap my forehead, 25, tap, 25. Or 75, 75. Dollars is dollars. So it's like your non-dominant is across and your dominant comes in, kind of cups, almost like it's holding dollar bills and then slides it out, dollars. Dollars. So if you're going to say $1.25, that's how you would say it. 125. Nice little one to add. We've not done that. I can't believe that. Sorry. We've gone through this class so many times. I'm like, how did we not think of that one? So, alrighty. Anyways, what I was gonna say is the next what we'll do is 5 numbers. I will sign them. I'm gonna keep my voice off. And you guys can either type it or say it. If you say it, I would wait a bit because that way it gives everyone else a chance to answer it. And when we finish these 5, we'll move on to actual time. And then, yeah, because the actual time's it's not a lot, but it's a good amount of signs. So, okay. So our first one, I'm going to voice for like number 1, just so you guys don't think that that 1's involved with the actual number. I had a student do that. They thought that I was that. And I was like, no. Number 1. And they're like, oh, whoops. And I was like, okay, that's fine. It's fine. It's the first week of school. We're good. So, okay. So number 1. I'll move a little closer. You mouthed it. No, the other one. Yeah. I've gotten real good at the lip reading. So this is 25. The way it might kind of help. I don't know why. I just think of it's like you do I just think of the 2 and then 5. Oh, buddy. So 25. Okay. Number 2. Let's see. I got to think of up numbers. I'm trying to think of a number that's not going to change or be too hard. Like I want to be kind of easier and then go harder. So number 2. Or it can be the other one. Yeah. So this one is 17. 18's right here. Yeah. 7 and 8 are probably the 2 most common ones to get mixed up. So if you're struggling with that, it's okay. Even I've struggled with it. Like I was a first year teacher and I was still struggling with it. Like my hands just couldn't keep with it. Like I knew which one was which, but it's like I would say if it was 856, I would end up saying 756. And my students would be like, that says 8. And I'm like, that's what I meant. I'm so sorry. So we've all been there. Okay. Number 3. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. Good. So 345. And you technically could do 3, 4, 5, but the 100 in there is to make that more clear. And it's more commonly used. I mean, I have seen people who will just do 3, 4, 5, but that 100 does help. For sure, it's kind of a big. I'd almost say that's the one way I would go more, and like instead of just doing 3, 4, 5, it's doing 345. But like I said, either way works. Okay. So number 4. Okay. So I'm gonna do it again. So here it is again. Mm-hmm. Yes. I was watching her hands. I saw her copying me. I was like, oh, maybe I'm gonna slow down so she can see me. So, but yes.
How do you celebrate or clap for yourself?
This.
Okay.
So this is actually how you do clapping in ASL, as you wave your hands like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
I love doing that. It's like one of my favorite things. I'll do it out in public, like out at other places that like you can clap. I just stand up, I start doing this, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, let's clap here, because I get so used to it at school. So it's very easy to do that. Once you really practice ASL, it's very easy to end up doing it outside of school, or outside of, at least for me, outside of my workplace. So okay. So then let's do number 5, our last one, and then we'll move on to time. 5, gotta think of a number that's not gonna be too hard and mess myself up. Okay, I think I have one. Oh, no, I didn't say 0. Sorry, that was a question. Good question. So 0 is just 0. I think my mind always thinks, well, everyone knows what 0 is, which I mean, we do, but it's like, I should clarify, yes, this is 0. So yeah. Okay, my bad. I've done that, I think, in other classes as well. And then someone will ask me later, is 0 just 0? And I'm like, yeah. So, okay. All right, perfect. So our number 5. Okay, this one might be hard to type, so do not hate me. I'm gonna do it again. Oh wait, did I do? Which one did I? Oh no, I shouldn't have done this to myself. Now I'm messing myself up. Okay, you know what? Let's scratch that number. I'm picking a different one. I decided to go too crazy with that, and I can't even keep up. Okay, we'll do another one. So this is 6 million. But yes, you still get the million. 6, yeah. So 3 and 6, which are so easy to get because we've always grown up 3. My mind now is so used to this being 6, I have to say it's 6. But like, I remember this was always 3. That's like one of the hard ones, I think, is when you're so used to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that it's like, it's really hard to break this one. Once you do though, you never forget it. And you see people who do it and you almost laugh to yourself. Haha, that's not it. That's a 6. So, all right. Well, y'all did good. I'm sorry about that last one before this one. That was a little chaotic. I think it was supposed to be 600 million, 8,000. But then I realized I couldn't even sign it myself, keeping it repeating it. Because numbers can be very tricky when you're trying to think of it and keep it the same and it's not written somewhere. So, okay. Now we're going to move on to time. We're going to try to get on to, we're going to try to get onto all of our lists, all of our signs on the, gosh, cannot talk today. All of our words on our list. If we don't get to, we will definitely get through them to next week, but I think we should be able to. So, does everyone have the list? No. Okay. So we have a list that we're working on.
Yeah, I just sent it to you just so we could be sure like that was the goal to cover. And then I figured if we added anything like 0 or dollars and cents, I would update it and send it out.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. We keep, we're evolving our class and changing it. So sometimes we're like, okay, we'll do these lists. Or not sometimes we're working on doing a list. And I always get lost on, are we sending this one out yet? No, we haven't. Okay. So, all right. Anyways, so let's start off with the first one is the actual sign for time, which I've done, and it's time. You just tap on your watch. So basically, like, when people are looking at you and they're like, and you get very annoyed, well, they're actually signing it right. Even if they're not trying to be signing it, they are time. Then the next one we're going to do is today. So the sign for today is you're going to have 2 Y's. You're going to have them facing up and you bounce them today. And you want to make sure you do it twice. If you do it more, there's nothing wrong with that. You just don't want to do it once. Today. And then we're going to do now. So now it's the same hand shape, same facing up, and now is 1. Now. So that's why I was saying you did not want to do 1 for today, because that is now. I always think of with the now, I'm almost a little aggressive with mine. Like I'm really hard, like I really slam it down. And that's because that I just always visually think of my like mom telling me, well, come here now. One time, like it's final now. And then today's like, today, it's all nice and bubbly and bouncy, but now. So if that helps, I mean, I don't know, that was just like how I remembered which one was now and which one was today. I just thought of it's final, like you better come here. So, okay. Then we have tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be your thumb is at the corner of your mouth and you go tomorrow. You go forward tomorrow. You'll notice as we do more and more more and more signs is that a lot of things go forward for like our future things. So like tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And that is actually just kind of a nice kind of visual thing to have. And it also takes away having to have 2 signs almost every time. So instead of, saying, well, you'll see when we do next week and next year, but it simplifies it. And then for anything like yesterday, last week, last month, it's going to go behind you. So yesterday, there's 2 ways you can do it. Is you have your thumb here again, and you go yesterday, go back to your ear, yesterday. Or you can do a Y and do yesterday. I used to do yesterday, but my school, all my kids do this. So I've now become a habit of catching what my kids do, and I do yesterday. And then let's see. Okay. Then what we're going to do is I'm looking at my list. Sorry. We'll do seconds, minutes, hours, and days, and then we'll review. So the sign for seconds isn't really it's not really commonly used. We use more for minutes. But so the sign for seconds is you're going to have your non-dominant sideways. Your dominant hand's going to be in a pointer finger. And you go seconds. And you go like real little. Like you're not really moving that hand back and forth much. Seconds. Seconds. Then for minutes, there are 2 ways to do it. There's one that I was taught when I first started learning it, but I really don't see this one as often, and it's minutes. You go larger, minutes. The one I do see more common is minute. It's like you have your non-dominant pointer, like your palm, and you point your one hand away. Minute. So like if you're saying 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes. 6 minutes. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Yeah, like right there. Yeah, at the base of your hand, you gotta bounce it. Yeah. So 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. That's our motion. I think this is like the actual like sign for minutes. And this one's just becoming more commonly used because I think this is like saying like you have 1 minute left, 1 minute, wait 1 minute, but it's now becoming, well, you have 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes, that sort of thing. Then we have hour. So for hour, you're going to do the same hand. You're going to have it sideways. Your pointer finger is now it's going to be on it. And your pointer finger is going to go in a full circle on your hand. Hour. And make sure you go forward. And why you want to go forward is because we're always moving forward. We're not moving backwards. Hour. Hour. Yeah. So if you were going to say, again, this is kind of nice because I always thought it was just you had to do 2 hours, 4 hours. And then some of my coworkers were like, no, you can do 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. So you can add that number in it and do that same motion, and that helps. Then we have week. Oh no, day. Sorry, I skipped day. So day, the actual sign for day is, this one takes both hands. Your non-dominant is going to be a fist and laying across. Your dominant is going to be at the top. I tend to have mine in a D motion. That's just kind of how I have it. And you go day. 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 For all day, it's the same motion, but now with an open hand. All day. All day. So day, all day. Okay. Now let's go back to our today and go over those. So we have today. Then we have now, which is now. And then we had our tomorrow. So right here, tomorrow. Tomorrow. And then yesterday, which is yesterday, or it can be yesterday. Yesterday. Then we had, well, we had time as well. But that one, I think we all know time. I think that one's one of those lucky ones that we visually know because it's just kind of one we use as is anyway. So the next one we had is seconds. Seconds, very small. Then our minutes, we have the big one this way or this way. Minutes. Then we have hours. Hour. Hour. So like 2 hours, 3 hours. Then we have day. 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 And then all day. Open hand all day. All day. Okay. So now we're going to move on to week, month, and year. And I'm going to, while we're also here, also show next week, last week, next month, last month, next year, last year. I'll show you week, month, and year, and then I'll do those. So the sign for week is going to be your non-dominant hand up. Your dominant's again in that pointer finger, and you're going to slide it across your hand. Week, week. Week. And this is again one of those ones where you can do 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, that sort of thing. For weekly, because I just thought of it, not thought of it, but it hit me, was weekly is this. Weekly, you just bounce it back and forth. So if like you're saying, well, we have soccer practice, we have a soccer game weekly, a weekly soccer game weekly. Then month. Month is a challenge one, so bear with me. I always describe this one probably the worst because it's kind of awkward when I'm trying to explain it. So please bear with me. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your non-dominant and a pointer finger. And you want to have it facing that way. So like how you can see my fingers, you want to look at the back of your hand. Then your dominant hand is going to be in that same motion. Now you're going to turn it. And you're going to take your dominant hand's finger and go behind your non-dominant. Like that. Yeah. Month. Month. Yeah. So this is month. So this is one where you can do that 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Monthly is the same like we did for weekly, and it's monthly. You go back and forth. And you really want to make sure you make that big motion if you're going back and forth, not going up and down. Because up and down is temperature. So temperature monthly. So here, I'll slow down. So month is just the one. Monthly is back and forth. And then I said temperature, and temperature is just the up and down motion on the back. Like you don't move it down all the way. Monthly, I mean temperature. Oh. Okay. Then we have year. Year is going to be 2 fists. Your dominant is on top. And what you're going to do is you're going to have your dominant fist go forward. Year. And it comes back up. Year. Oh, my year kept going. Year. This is one, if you're saying 2 years, it took 2 years, you would probably do the 2 years, 2 years. Or I mean, I guess you could do 2 years. I see more 2 years where it's separate. Whereas like with month and week, you can do that, but I see more 2 years. For yearly or like annually, you have your fists, like your hands on top, and you bounce like a flicking of the finger. Yeah. It's almost like you're pushing your button and you're pointing your finger out. Yearly. Yearly. Yep. Okay. Now for weekly, not weekly, next week. Sorry, Miss Katie's cat's distracting me because she's cute. So next week, what you do for next week is there's 2 ways you can do next week. So the first way is you're going to slide your hand across our week and you go forward. So you loop it forward next week. Another way that, oh, sorry, my Apple Watch was like, thought I was talking to her. I am not. The other way you can do next week is you do the same motion of week next week, or I guess you actually start from the opposite side. You go across and then down and out next week. That one, I tend to do this one more now. Before I was very much next week. But now I'm becoming more where like I'm at the tip of my fingers and I go all the way down to my thumb and then I go out next week. Ooh. Sorry, I'm getting one of those hand cramps that I was talking about earlier. So more often when learning ASL, we learn it this way. And then later on we do this one. So do not worry. I know that one takes time. It can be almost kind of hard to think about it. For last week, what you do is you have the hand up, you go across, and then you go behind you. Last week. Yep. And so like I said, so 3 weeks ago, if you were going to do something like that, 3 weeks ago, same thing, 3 and back, 3 weeks ago. All right. So for month, like next month and last month, those are a little tricky at times. The reason for that, next month's not too bad. Last month's it's not the most comfortable position. So we got to get back in our month position. So we have our pointer finger facing out this way, our non-dominant hand looking at our fingers. Excuse me. You do month and then you go forward. Next month. Next month. And then have your left hand facing out that way. Face this way, like where you see the back of your, there you go. And then you have your dominant hand. Yeah, and then you have it go behind. There you go. Yeah. Next month. This one's like I'm gonna say one of the worst signs. I'm sorry, month. I have nothing against you, but I don't like you because you're hard to describe and it's not the most comfortable one anyways. I have a very much dislike for the month, sign for month. Then for last month, what you do is you go back and you come this way, like last month. And this is why I say it's not comfortable because, last week, that's kind of an easy one. Your hand's already going in that motion. This one's like, you're almost look like you're end up scratching yourself in the neck with it last month. I'll do it one more. Sorry. I know I'm trying to slow down with these signs for month. Because I know they're really, really complicated sometimes. Last month. Yep. There you go. And then for last year and next year, I'll do next year first. So next year is it's actually really simple. You have your 2 fists, you have them bounce, And then you do one finger forward next year. Next year. And you want to make sure, like, here, I'll turn sideways so you can see it. Next year. Like, I'm going like actually like forward next year. Next year. Then last year. Bounce back. So you don't have to do this whole year thing. No, it's just next year, last year. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on our weeks, months, and our years? How are we feeling?
I'm going to have to do a lot of review, but I have the foundation.
It's totally understandable. It takes time. And I think a lot of times the time signs are ones that's why I think I put them first, is because those are the ones that they do take time, but once you get them, you know them. And those are ones where probably more commonly you might end up using more so earlier on, you know, today, tomorrow, those kinds of things. So that's why we kind of get in them. And thankfully, like I try to for the first few classes to make the list of words really small because there are some other classes that'll be really long in lists and they can get a little overwhelming. And I try to kind of read you guys. And if you're like, I can see on your face, you're like, I'm done. And then we will stop. I will not just keep throwing signs at you. One things I do is that I give you guys a lot of signs because since it's videoed and recorded, you can go back later and watch it again. So I always feel it's better to give you more signs now. And that way you almost have it saved. You have, you know, you have it saved somewhere so you can look at it again. So, but yes, it does take time, especially when you're doing all this going forward, going backwards. It's like, okay, which is which now? So, but are you guys still good to keep going, or do you want to kind of like stop and then practice and just kind of leave for new signs? I still have not too many more. Actually, let me see. I'm looking at my list real quick. I actually have like only like 2 or 3 more signs. Yeah, I have like 3 more signs. Is that, are you guys comfortable with that, or do you want to stop? Okay, we're good. Okay. All right. Want to make sure. Okay. So the next one I have is the sign for postpone, or like push back, like push forward or push back. So that one, what you do is you have 2 F's. You're going to have them touching. So like they're going like sideways. Yeah. And what you're going to do is with your dominant hand, if you're trying to say like postpone, like it's pushed back, pushed to next week, you go forward. Bounce. Yeah. Postpone. So think of it as it's going farther into the future because we're always walking it, going towards it. Yeah. F's. This is how it looks sort of from below. That is that motion. But sideways. Yeah. Forward. Pushed forward, postpone, push. Then for pushed back, moved up, they are the same thing, but now going behind you, push up. Because it's almost, think of it as like, okay, well, we pushed up the meeting from 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock. It's now closer to you. I always think of that as like, it's now getting closer to you. Where if it was like, well, the meeting was at 9, it's moved to 1, was now farther from you. So it's that kind of motion. It's like we're on a timeline. And then the next one I have is the sign for ready, which I think I might have been already doing in class. I do that as a lot of times I'll sign as I'm talking. And some classes, they pick up on it. Like before I even I say this, like, okay, we're going to do this word. They already know it because they're like, you've been doing it since day 1. And I'm like, oh, okay, not bad. So the sign for ready is you have 2 R's and you shake them. Ready. Then the last one I have is wait. So the sign for wait is going to be, you're going to have your 2 hands kind of up and then you wiggle your fingers. Wait. And if you see, I'm kind of doing like a circular motion, like it's coming towards me and going away. Wait. So wait. Another sign you can use for wait is like if you're saying like Because that's like I'm waiting on something. But if you're saying like, wait a minute, hold on, something like that, you go hold, wait, hold. Like you grab it, like hold. Hold. I do this a lot with my kids. I have very impatient little ones, love them, but they're very much like, Jillian, and I'm like, hold it. You said my name already 20 times. I'm still on this one student. I'm coming to you in a second. So hold. But yeah, you'll notice that a couple of signs will have multiple meaning words, like signs. The thing that I love with ASL is it's very straightforward. And with it, you almost don't have to, it's not so much a challenge for us, but with our English, because we've grown, at least for me, I mean, I've grown up with English, you know, so I know it and I've kind of already can think about it. But for words like the word run, if you think about how many different ways we use the word run, it's crazy. The list of different signs you can use for run is insane, because you have the sign for run, like actual, like running itself. We'll see those later with our sports, but the sign for like, I'm running for office, I'm running late, you know, you're not going to use the same running motion because you're not actually running for the office, you know, you're not actually running late, like you're hurrying, but you're not actually there sprinting. Or, you know, there's a run in my stocking or something like that. Well, your stocking is not running away from you. So those kinds of things will have a lot of different signs with them, and we do get to them as much as we can. It's just always something I like to kind of give people so they kind of keep in the back of their mind and think about, because a lot of words that we use, we have that are like multiple meaning words. They have a lot of different ways you can say them. And with signing, we do a different sign for those. And most of them are very similar, you know, like for example, the word, I'm trying to think, like for, you know, running, like, well, I'm trying to think of a better one. Sorry, I was trying to think of one that's like, that you use for many things. Like, okay, awesome, marvelous, wonderful, the same sign. This, awesome, wonderful, marvelous, you know. So there's always, you're really there. You're like, this is really awesome. But we'll notice that like we use the same sign for multiple words as well, which is nice. So yeah, there's my little spiel again. I will do that a lot. Please bear with me. I love talking about ASL. I love talking about it all. So I can like go on and on and on. So, okay. We do have 8 minutes left. Would you guys like to review? We didn't review our week, month, and year. Why don't we review that? And then we'll kind of end it there, if that sounds good to y'all. I feel like I've given you guys a lot of signs. Last week was ABCs, and now it's like, oh, we're in the real signs now. Like it's not just numbers or letters, it's now real signs. So, okay. So let's go back to our week, month, and year. So the sign for week. The sign for next week. Next week, or also next week. If this one's confusing y'all, don't even worry about it. Like you can just focus on this one, or if this one you got, but this one's messing, just pick one. It's totally fine. Next week. Then we have last week. Last week. Then we have our month. So month. Next month. Then last month. Then we have year. Then next year. Bounce and forward. Next year. And then last year. And then the last ones I forgot, weekly, monthly, and yearly. We'll do those. So weekly. So this class is weekly, like that sort of deal. And then monthly, and then yearly. So that bouncing, I'm just like flicking my finger every time I hit my knuckle. Yeah. Yearly. So how are we feeling on our time right now? I know I've already asked that, but I'm gonna ask again. I really want to make sure you guys are feeling good and comfortable and not going like finishing going, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Like, I promise you will get there. I promise I got there. So yeah, thank you for being honest. I appreciate that. Definitely practicing helps so much, you know, even if it's just sitting. A lot of times I will be watching TV or, you know, eating dinner, and I just kind of will think to myself, okay, well, next month, what's next month, you know, that kind of thing. Those are always kind of helpful. And then always you can go back and watch these videos again and just kind of go with us. If you guys are still after like a week, like next week, if you're still really kind of, I'm not sure, we can definitely have a short little review right before, or like a review quiz right before our class next week. We can definitely do that, you know. Excuse me, so sorry. That's not a problem. Next week's class, we are going to do, I had to go to my list. We are going to do family signs, as well as our WH question words. So like our who, what, when, where, and why. And then the last part should be places if we have time. That one's kind of always one we keep, or we also may like push it to the next class. So those are what we're gonna do next week. Any questions?
Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all the terrible, awful thing I do when I'm at church and I get bored is, you know how somebody will be like, Philippians 15:2, whatever. I'll try to spell Philippians, like I can even spell Philippians, like writing it, because I can't, but I try to spell it in ASL and try to do the numbers. Like I just can't sit and do one thing. So I feel like that's a good place. Or if you're like riding in the car with somebody, I'll like practice spelling words I see or doing the number like 280. You know, how would I tell somebody to get on 280? So just, you know, try if you can to practice just here and there throughout the week. It's not like you have to like for a whole hour sit down and do it, but just wherever you think of it, you know, have a go. You don't have to spell Philippians. Or like Deuteronomy, I can't spell that either, probably, but you know what I'm saying. It's a chance to practice it. So,
and I just always think it's kind of fun to practice it. It's so simple, you know, you can just do it in your everyday life. I mean, I guess you could do that with any other language, but I mean, come on. Can you use
with sign language, you can do it silently.
Yes, you're not always having people annoyed by like, okay, stop talking in Spanish to me, like, or something like that. You can just such a nice calming. Also, it can be calming too. Sometimes like when I get like kind of stressed, or I'm especially like in college when I'd be kind of stressed out or frustrated, a lot of times I would just go back and I would just kind of sit back and I would do that. I would look at words and I'd spell them. And it actually would calm me down. It would kind of help me because college is stressful. I think we all can agree on that. And that was like the greatest thing for me, is it helped me really kind of calm myself. And I was like, okay, now let's come back to the work. But alrighty, well, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of y'all's week. And I will see you guys all next week. Bye.